given its price and demonstrate why price and yields may vary inversely. We will also see why the bonds exhibit interest rate risk. So let us first understand what are government bonds. Now, government and corporate borrows money by selling bonds to the investors. So if a company or the government wants money, they will sell bonds to the people, to the investors. Now, the money they collect when the bond is issued or sold to the public is the amount of the loan. So, a bond is actually a loan which the government takes from the people, from the public. In return, they agree to make specified payments to the bondholders who are the lenders. So, the government says that we will pay you a certain rate of interest, which is, in a way, a repayment. Now, when you owe a bond, you generally received fixed interest payment each year until the bond matures. Now, this payment is known as the coupon. So, coupon is actually the rate of interest, the fixed amount of interest which you are getting every year till the bond matures. For example, the government may want to borrow 1 lakh rupees from you for a period of 10 years. In every year, the government will give you 10% as a rate of interest, which is 10,000 rupees every year for 10 years. At the end of 10 years, you will get your entire 1 lakh rupees back. This is government bond. So, a bond is a debt investment in which an investor loans a certain amount of money for a certain period of time with certain interest rate to a company. A government bond is a bond issued by a national government denominated in the country's own currency. They are normally issued for a tenure of 5 to 30 years. So, how do bonds actually work? I'll give you a very good example. Now, consider a government bond as an example. Suppose Indian government raised money by selling 6% coupon by 2020 maturity of treasury bonds. Now, each bond has a face value of 1000. Because the coupon rate is 6%, the government makes payment of 6% of rupees 1000 or which is 60 rupees each year. When the bond matures in July 2020, the government must pay the face value of rupees 1000 in addition to the final coupon payment. So I hope this is easily understood by every one of you. Now let us also understand a very important concept which is called yield to maturity. Now, what is yield to maturity? Now, suppose you are considering a purchase of a bond with a coupon rate of, let's suppose, 10%, and your investor advises you a price for the bond. So, how do you calculate the rate of return the bond offers? This is called yield to maturity. So, for example, it is always easy to find the yield to return to determine how much value you will get on the money. So, this bond formula is there which you can calculate and you can get the yield to maturity. It is the answer to the all the questions whether the bond or the interest rate is good for the people to invest. So, this is something which you should definitely learn. In fact, the formula you should learn or practice before you go for the exam. Now, bond prices also fall when the market interest rate rises, and the bond prices will rise when the market rates fall. So, what will be the result? The rate of return that you earn on a bond will fluctuate with the market interest rate. This is why we say that bonds are subject to interest rate risk. So the yield to maturity is defined as the discount rate that equates the bond price to the present value of all its promised cash flow. It is a measure of average rate of returns you will earn over the bond's life if you hold it to the maturity. So if the bond yield to maturity increases, the rate of return during the period will be less than that the yield. If the yield decreases, the rate of return will be greater than the yield. So if someone asks you what is interest rate risk? Now we all have seen that bond prices fluctuate as the interest rate changes. In other words, bonds exhibit interest rate risk. Bond investors cross their fingers that market interest rates will fall so that prices of their bonds will rise. If the market interest rate rises, the value of their investment falls. So, what is duration of a bond? Now, this concept is easy to understand. Now, when we are doing valuation of bonds, the underlying assumption is that the periodic interest received on the bonds is reinvested at the rate prevailing in the market. So, the duration of the bond is a concept which arises from the fact that when the interest rate in the market increases, the market price of the bond comes down, but the holder of the bond gains on the reinvestment of his periodic interest receipts and vice versa. So, before maturity of the bond, there is a time when the extra gain on reinvestment of periodic interest is equal to the fall in the market value of the bond. So if someone holds the bond till this period, he will not have any loss or gain due to change in the interest rate. Now this period is called duration of the bond. In other words, we may say that duration of the bond is the holding period at the end of which the holder of the bond is not affected by the interest rate risk. So if you have to calculate the duration of the bond, it is sum of the present value of each flow into multiplied by time of the cash flow divided by sum of the present value of all the cash flows. So this formula you can remember. Now what is default risk? Now bonds issued by corporations have default risk in case the company is not able to repay the money. Now the risk that the bond issuer may default on his obligation is called default risk or credit risk. Now the companies have to offer higher interest rate in order to compensate for the higher risk of non-payment. So the difference in the yield of government bond and the corporate bond is called default premium or risk premium. So usually bonds are rated for safety by rating agencies. Rating agencies like CRISIL and ICRA perform this task in India. For example, a company is rated by CRISIL as a high risk company. So that company will have to pay more rate of interest, which can also be called risk premium on whatever offering it has to make. So because people have to take a lot of risk, this company is rated as high risk. So why will anyone want to invest in such a company in which you have the chances of losing your money? So the only advantage or the only uh, reason why you would want to invest in such company is because it offers high rate of interest. So that is something which you can definitely think of. Now let us talk about certain variations in corporate bonds. What is zero coupon bond? Now it is a bond which are redeemed at their face value and priced at nominal value below their face value. So the investor gets a return from the difference in purchase price and the face value. What is floating rate bonds? Sometimes the coupon rate or the interest rate can change over time. Thus, the coupon payment is linked to some benchmark interest rate. The rate is reset accordingly to the changes in the benchmark. Thus, the return on the bond always approximates current market return. What are convertible bonds? These bonds can be converted into a share of later specified date. They give an opportunity to the bond investor to participate in equity if the company is doing well. What is callable bonds? the issuer reserves the right to call back the bond and pay a fixed price, generally at a premium over a par value. This is less attractive to investors. If the market interest rate goes down and consequently the bond prices increases, the bonds are likely to be called back. So I hope these important terminologies and concepts are clear to you, and I'm also sure that you'll be able to solve or answer questions on this topic. So if you like this video, you can press the like button, subscribe to my channel, and share this video on social media. Help us to spread education in this beautiful world. Thank you. Have a great day. Bye bye.